2021's The Black Phone was a taut psychological horror thriller starring Ethan Hawke as child abductor and murderer, The Grabber, featuring standout performances from Mason Thames's Finn and Madeline McGraw's Gwen, along with a compelling and damaged Terence, their father, superbly brought to life by Jeremy Davies. It was a film that garnered much praise upon its release for doing something a little bit new and also doing a lot with a little. However, it did end in a way that would suggest there would not have been a sequel. The problem is, when films like The Black Phone make the amount of money that it did, making $161 million on a $16-ish million budget, you are going to get a sequel, whether you want one or not. Thankfully, director Scott Derrickson is back on board, as are the cast from the first film. Here we have a film set 4 years after the first. Finn is struggling with the trauma of the events of the first film. He has turned to smoking weed and also becoming violent to other children in a way to deal with his experience. In the meantime, his sister Gwen has started having dreams about the Grabber. It appears that the Grabber is not done just yet. And in messages to Finn, conveyed once again through a black phone, he informs him that he is going to hurt Finn by taking away the one thing that Finn loves the most, his sister. This time round, rather than a suburban American town in 78, we've got a Christian summer camp, and when Gwen starts getting messages from her mother, who is, as we remember from the first film, quite dead, we find out that in order to solve the mystery of what happened to her mother, they're going to need to go to this camp. Once there, they're trapped and easy fodder for the Grabber. This gives us a different setup to the first film, but a fair bit of it is still the same. The Grabber here has taken on a more supernatural nature and attacks Gwen through her dreams, through her subconsciousness, actually able to wound her. One of the problems, and quite an obvious one here, is that this entire conceit apes the Nightmare on Elm Street series, as Gwen is in a dream fighting the Grabber and suddenly she'll get a cut on her, or she'll be hurled around, she'll be somnambulant, yet she'll be attacked by the Grabber, so she'll be thrown around, spinning around, all that kind of stuff. While this is directed very well by Derrickson, with any sequences in her dreams or in this other reality, if you like, being rendered in a grainy filter and also with a slight change to the frame rate, rendering things ever so slightly off kilter. It is nonetheless something that's been seen before, and this coupled with the slow pacing of the film in places, unfortunately, does render it inferior to the original. Now, in this film, they are trying to solve the mystery of 3 murdered boys that the Grabber killed at the camp. And this hunt to find these boys that the Grabber has disposed of in the frozen lake under the frozen ice is the main crux of the film. Now, this is where most of the gore is shown as well, as these children were all killed in exceptionally violent ways. And the film doesn't let up in this in any way, although it is relatively gore-free in every other aspect. The backing characters of Ernesto, played by Miguel Mora, and Arena Rivas as Mustang, along with Damian Bichir as Mando, are all very good and add that tiny little bit of diversity that you need to the movie to have it be accepted these days. Although I will say that for a Colorado 1982 film, the racial demographic is exactly as you'd expect it to be. There is no wokeness, in inverted commas, from that perspective. The spin of the narrative to focus on Gwen is interesting and does somewhat diminish Finn's journey. Although he still gets his time, this is more Gwen's movie, and there is just a moment in there where there is a little bit of kind of almost Stranger Things female empowerment fighting back against bad guy, I've got the power now kind of thing, and that felt a teeny bit unnecessary. But overall, I would say this is a satisfying sequel. While it may be derivative of some other films that you've seen, I feel it does enough to make its existence worthwhile. I don't see it being embraced the same way as the first one, and hopefully this will be the last film. I don't think there's anywhere else they can go with this. I don't think there's anywhere else they need to go with this. We've now had a film based around Finn and his attempts to escape the grabber, and we've had a film wrapping up the storylines that were set up in that film, and the sister Gwen has her story kind of come to an end here. There is a sense at the end of this film of closure that perhaps wasn't present in the first film, and I would consider at this point for it to all be wrapped up. The cinematography and directing is excellent throughout, although I would say there are some pacing issues, and perhaps we could have had a bit more on a few of the backing characters, just to clue us in a little bit more. They're just a little bit perfunctory, I would say, as far as those characters' development goes. But overall, this is worth your time, if not on the big screen, where we had some kids who were getting very bored of the slow pacing and making an awful lot of noise. It's definitely worth checking out on streaming. I would say give this a chance. This is one call that is worth picking up. Thanks for watching. I've been Critic, and I'll be back with another video soon.